All right, today we're going to talk about a pretty big deal in public health, something that could absolutely affect you or someone you care about. We're talking about the new rules for cervical cancer screening. And these aren't just little updates. This is a whole new way of thinking about prevention. So let's get right into it.
So let's just start with a number, 39,300. According to the CDC, that is how many cancers are caused by one single, incredibly common virus in the US every single year. That virus is HPV, the Human Papillomavirus. And it's the main reason the entire playbook for cervical cancer screening has just been completely rewritten.
Yep, that's right. As of 2025, the American Cancer Society has put out its brand new guidelines. So we're going to break down exactly what has changed, the science that's driving it, and most importantly, what it all means for you.
And I really want to stress, this isn't about some minor tweaks on the edges. This is a significant shift in medical advice, a change that's designed to make screening way more effective, a whole lot more accessible, and ultimately to save more lives.
Okay, so what are these new rules exactly? Well, it really comes down to three huge changes. First, the age to start screening is now 25, not younger. Second, and this is a real game changer, you can now use an FDA-approved test to collect your own sample for HPV testing. And third, they've laid out much clearer rules for when it's safe to stop screening once you're over 65. And you know, the why behind all this? It really boils down to one simple word: access. As Lisa Lacoste from the ACS Cancer Action Network says, self-collection is huge for breaking down barriers. You know, whether it's living far away, not having childcare, or just feeling more comfortable. The whole point is to make it radically easier for everyone to get screened. Okay, so that's the what. But to really get why these changes are happening now, we've got to dig into the why. And the why all comes back to that virus we mentioned right at the beginning, HPV. So what even is HPV? Well, it's an incredibly common virus. So common, in fact, that pretty much every sexually active person will get it at some point. Now, most of the time, your body fights it off, no problem. But here's the key. When a high-risk type of HPV sticks around for a long time, it can cause changes to your cells that can eventually lead to cancer. And it is the cause of nearly all cervical cancers. And this right here, this is the absolute core of the new strategy. Think about it like this. For years, the Pap test was reactive. It looked for the effect of the virus, the strange-looking cells. The new preferred method, the HPV test, is proactive. It looks for the cause, the virus itself. Finding the cause lets us see the risk way, way earlier, sometimes years before any cells would even start to look different. And look, this is exactly why getting a handle on HPV is so important for everybody. This is not just a cervical cancer thing. The data shows that HPV is linked to thousands of other cancers every year that affect all genders. In fact, right now, the most common HPV-related cancer in the US is actually cancer of the back of the throat, and it affects more men than women. Okay, so we've got a much more proactive way to screen for risk now. That's great. But when you have a virus this common, the real game changer is stopping the infection before it even starts. And that is where we shift from detection to our absolute first line of defense, vaccination. And this is maybe the most important thing to understand. Screening finds a problem that might already be there. Vaccination prevents the problem from ever happening in the first place. One is a safety net, the other is making sure you never fall. The HPV vaccine can stop the cancer-causing infection before it can do any harm. That's what true prevention looks like. And listen, this isn't just some new idea based on a couple of studies. We're talking about a massive body of evidence here. More than 160 scientific studies all have found that the HPV vaccines are safe and that they work. Plus, the CDC and FDA have been constantly monitoring their safety ever since they were introduced back in 2006. So let's just tackle this head on, right? The data from the CDC could not be clearer. The science overwhelmingly supports the vaccine's safety. There is zero scientific proof it causes fertility problems. The side effects you hear about are almost always super mild and temporary, like a sore arm or a headache, the kind of thing you get with any shot. The safety record is long, it's documented, and it's incredibly reassuring. Okay? We've gone through the new rules, the science, the power of prevention. So what does all of this actually mean for you and for your own health plan? Let's bring it all home. At the end of the day, it's just like Dr. Robert Smith from the American Cancer Society says. The entire point of these updates is to make things easier, get more people screened, and ultimately bring the number of cervical cancer cases way, way down. So, what's your game plan? Number one, and this is the most important, talk to your doctor. Figure out how these new rules apply to you personally. The general idea is to start HPV testing at 25 and then do it every 5 years if your results are clear. Next, ask about the HPV vaccine for yourself if you're in the age range, and definitely for the kids or teenagers in your life. And one last thing, and this is so important, even if you don't need a screening this year, do not skip your annual checkup. That visit is about your overall health, and a Pap test is just one tiny part of that. So I want to leave you with this one final thought. For really the first time in human history, we have the tools to make a type of cancer a rare disease. We have better screening, and we have a vaccine that prevents it. The science is there. The real question is for us. Are we going to use these tools?